Hey friends, it's Julie with PhotoFabPaperFlowers, and today we're going to make a large carrot craft, and I'm using the carrot leaf. So I cut 2 of them at the same size, and you can do any size depending on your size foam cone. Say that fast. Foam cone. Cone. So I am using a larger one here. So my leaves range from 8 inches, 7.5 inches high, and 7 inches. So you can get both on one sheet of paper. So that was my restriction, is I wanted to cut them on one piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. So what I'm taking, just to get my wire attached super fast, I am using hot glue. And this is Gorilla Glue, and it dries super fast. But I found this was easiest to get my wire down and secure. Now you don't have to go all the way up to the top. And then you just bend it to the shape where you put your glue. And then I hold it there for a second. Now it may move, mine moves a little bit in the center, but that's okay. So that would be step 1. Again, finding the technique that works best. Now, generally I use Barely Art's craft glue. However, I couldn't get any of mine to work. I think the glue stuck in the tips. So I do need to use a thorough cleaning. So I did buy these on Amazon. I do have them in my Amazon storefront, linked in the description below. Now, this seemed to work really good. It dried pretty fast, so all of them seem secure, the ones I did so far. I also tried using my liquid glue. It worked just as good. It just took a lot longer to dry than this. So these are some alternatives, and this has a nice precision tip. Now mine has a little bit of glue on it, but you can see it's a good tip. So I just start at the top and go trace around each leaf. I do like to make sure it does get to the tip so that my paper stays secure. Because you cut 2 of them the exact same size, and then we just attach them together. Now maybe you only want to attach them in the center, and that would be an option as well. Carrot leaves, there are a lot of them. So if you didn't want to glue it completely all the way down, you could just glue it in the center or a little bit at the tip of each leaf. Now, because I like to ink, I am gluing everything down, because I will be styling these. So I did pick up my foam cones. Oh, that's a hard word to say. At Hobby Lobby. But I do have some from Dollar Tree, which are a little bit smaller in size, or any craft store, or even on Amazon. And I'm trying to get to the very tips of my leaves so that they stay secure when we attach both of them together. And again, this glue is super strong in scent. I'll say it's very, very potent. So just be forewarned. This is used for beads or crystals. I saw somebody else had posted about it in one of the craft groups, so I was like, I'm going to try it. And when my glues didn't work, any of them, I have a couple other ones, and I couldn't get any of them to work. Do you all have that problem? Or is it just me? Now in certain spots I will add a little bit of this on top, but we're also going to add some craft glue because I want it to secure pretty fast, like dry fast. Hardest part is trying to see the tip. Again, you know, with Gorilla Glue, you have to be super duper fast. Now you are able to move your leaves around to make sure they attach, which is a good thing. And now we can get these lined up. Oh my goodness, the fumes. Now, normally I will use my brayer roller, but because I'm using this glue, it will shift my leaves. But we can do it after this is dry. I'm just going to make sure my tip right here is secure. Now, of course, if you didn't want to use paper leaves, you can use artificial, but hey, we're paper florists. Let's show our amazing skills. Okay, so I'm going to just do that one more. I did cut 9, like I mentioned. I'm not sure how many I'll need. So, and I did put a Dollar Tree placemat down just for when I'm gluing. So again, my first step was to add glue on my bottom layer just down the center for my 18 gauge floral stem wire. I did use 18 gauge because I need my leaves to be sturdy. Normally I'll use a much thinner gauge wire, but I didn't want I want my leaves to stand up. And because they're much taller, I figure it would have more stability by using a thicker wire. And then we're going to come back through and use our B7000. And I've been using this for all 9 leaves, or 8 leaves. One of them I did try my other glue. You can feel an air pocket now, but I think I'll be good. It does come in a pack of, I think, like 8 or maybe 6. I'm not sure. It was a multi-pack and not expensive. So again, use what you have in your stash. I was just trying this as an alternative because I didn't have any that wanted to work. So then we improvise and figure out other solutions. And I'm tracing around the outside of the leaf, making sure I go all the way up to the tip. Oops. And if you do what I do, you get it on the mat, it's okay, because this is our painting mat, it's our gluing mat. Work surface mat. And what's great, they're from Dollar Tree, so I'll just pick up some when I'm there. So thank you for watching, liking, sharing, commenting. I truly do appreciate it. Again, I'm Julie with PhotoFabPaperFlowers. And if you don't follow me on Facebook, please check me out. We do live tutorials, and they will then eventually be saved here to YouTube. But join us live, chat with us. All right. Oh my goodness, that's a very, very strong scent. Woo! I mentioned the hardest part is putting the lid on. I even have my glasses on. And now we're just going to add a little bit of hot glue just to make sure our wire adheres. This is the hardest part. And then once we have our center, then I work each leaf. And this one's drying. Here I'm using my metal ball stylus. We're just going to add a little bit more hot glue. Alright, so I do have magically all of my leaves. Now, next up, now totally optional, I am an inker, as most of you know. So again, here I use 18 gauge floral stem wire. So I do need to cut down. So you do need some wire cutters. So I left about an inch at the bottom, or inch and a half. And then I used the second piece on a second leaf. So if I did 9, 4.5 pieces of 18 gauge floral stem wire. So then what we can do is take our flower shaping mats. I'm just grabbing mine. And it doesn't matter which way you want to do it. I just poked myself. I'm going to take an embossing stylus. This one is from Dollar Tree. It has a smaller end on one end and a little bit wider end. And all I'm going to do is go over the shape of the leaf. Now for like this one, I'll go down the center and then just do lines towards the center, and then I'll come down the opposite side. And I am pressing very hard. So it's going to emboss some lines on your leaf. Okay, so we're just going to follow that design all the way down. So it's going to shape them, and I will go over it with a metal ball, a larger metal ball stylus, but I wanted to emboss some texture on here. So I'll show you one and then I'll finish the others. Now, as they're smaller ones, I'm just coloring back and forth. For the larger ones, I'm going down the center and just going back and forth towards that center line. So again, they're not so flat anymore, as you can see. They're curling up and they have some texture. Okay, down the center. It's not directly in the center, it's okay. It's a leaf. So you can see it's curling. Now again, if it starts to separate, that's okay, because carrot leaves are super duper, there's a whole bunch of them at the top. Now you can go over it with your metal ball stylus and really give it some shape, just coloring back and forth. If you want to come through on the other side, so that way some are forward, some are backward, you certainly can do that. But we have some texture to our leaf. It's no longer just flat. Okay. And I like to use a piece of scrap paper. Or copy paper. Now this one's a little bit thicker, but with the yellow you can see the contrast. I like to use a brown and purple combination for my leaves in Distress Oxide. So was not prepared. I apologize. So right now I'm going to use walnut stain. I do like to use ground espresso as well. And then my purple go-to is seedless preserves. And I just use the shoe boxes from Dollar Tree to store them. Now, since I use the brown a lot, I do have the foam attachment for my applicator. So with the walnut stain, so just add some ink. Again, I'm using walnut stain. You can use a green. Forest moss is a really good green. And I'm just going to go over my leaf. Now just be careful. I like to do it after I emboss, because then it highlights the embossing lines we added. So again, if you don't want brown, you can use forest moss, Distress Oxide. So just brush it on each leaf. And you want to make sure you go down the center as well. We're going to flip it over and do exactly the same thing. Just brush it on. It highlights the tips of the petals. or the leaves. Again, you'll do this to as many leaves as you want to use on your carrot. Okay. And what's good with using the wire, then we can bend it and twist it however we want. Okay. Then we're going to come through and add just a little bit of purple, so you can see here with this color how the purple adds. I use brown and then the purple. Now I'm not going to ink around all the edges, but you could, even with the brown. But I'm just brushing it on. So I have a finger dabber for this one. I like to go down the center, and then you can just brush out, and you can highlight some of the tips a little bit more. It should be very random. Again, this is how I like to use my leaves. I find it looks a lot more realistic. Almost like our succulents, having a little bit of purple. Flip it over. And because depending how we twist our leaves and attach them, you would see it from the opposite side. So again, make sure because you want to check it from all different views of how it would look. So you can see the difference. And that's just my preferred look to my leaves that I like. I think it'll look nice with the orange carrot. So I chose to use, I picked this up at Hobby Lobby. They didn't have an orange, so I just chose this one, Butterscotch Medallion. I didn't choose the thicker yarn, so I'm hoping I have enough. But if you wanted to wrap it much quicker, you could use the thicker. But I think this green complements that orange or butterscotch really well. So I'll finish my leaves, but to start our carrot, this one I'm doing is 12 inches tall. Maybe I shouldn't have started with a large one. And we are using the cone shape. I'm just going to remove the plastic. Now, of course, the flat part will be our top part of our carrot where we put our leaves into. So we're going to, I think I'm actually going to start at the top, just because at the bottom I want to make it more of a point, and that'll be harder to start with that. So be careful. You can use your rubber finger protectors with the glue if you want. I might have to go get more yarn tomorrow. I'm like, where do you find the end? I am going to leave room for my leaves. So I'm just going to, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you see more of my messy workspace. I'm just going to add some glue, but again, leaving some in the center open. Again, just be careful with your fingers. I tend to put my fingers right in the hot glue all the time. So again, you can use your finger dabbers or the finger protectors, like I just did there. So I am using the really thin, well, not super thin yarn, but this is the soft ones. I like those, super soft. So this is going to take a while. But I did want to start it on top, so I cover some of the surface. This way it made more sense to my crazy brain, but if you wanted to start at the bottom, it's all good. I am making sure I'm pressing down as we go. Looks more yellow through the camera. It's actually orange, buttery scotch. I'm just going to continue making my way around. And like I mentioned, you can use the thicker one. They had no orange in the thicker yarn at the Hobby Lobby I was at. But you can check all your craft stores or yarn stores. Now we're going to make our way around the tip to create a point for the carrot. Now we could make a little cone with a square. I think we should be okay. You can see I'm just going around and around, so I just want to keep adding glue, and then we'll tuck our end in the center. Okay, so now we're just going to use up the rest of my yarn piece. Now I might crumble up a piece of paper. For stability. I have a little brown bag. So I'm going to add some glue. Probably should have been thinner. And this way it has something to adhere to as well. Perfect. We improvise as we go. Okay, so we're just going to keep adding glue. And tuck our piece in there. I have some glue strings. But there's our carrot. Oh my god, it's so cute. So let me wipe up my craft area. So that didn't take too long to wrap. I have glue strings everywhere right now. Again, we have our center here, so we can insert our leaves. Now, I didn't do all of them, but if you wanted to, looking for my dowel rods, you can also shape your leaves with some dowel rods so they're curled different directions. Now I'm using the blue 3/16. And remember, some of them we did roll from the back. Oh, it's so cute. Now, if you wanted to, we could wrap our bottom here with some floral tape. So I think this is one of my shorter ones. Yeah, this is the 7-inch. So you can see compared to my carrot, it is a little bit shorter. But I'm going to finish my leaves and then we will come back on. Okay, now that all the leaves are styled, I did add floral tape on the bottom and I did ink over it with the walnut stain and seedless preserve. So I just used a brighter green. So I'll just add a little bit more to this one to show you. I started right underneath the last leaf. And you do pull to activate the tape. Oops. Always when I film. And then you just twist and pull at the same time to, again, activate that glue and ensure it sticks. So then I went over it with my walnut stain. Now you won't see all of it because we'll insert it into the styrofoam. And also the seedless preserves, distress oxide. So that way it blended a lot more in with my green paper I used. And now you get to insert your leaves into the top of your carrot and you can bend them around. Again, I rolled them with a dowel rod. We can add some glue just to make sure it adheres. But it's the beginning of your carrot and oh my gosh, it's so cute. Now we can definitely have some bent down on your carrot because we can add some flowers or a bow. It all depends on the look that you're going for. But definitely add a little bit of glue unless you're not sure of your placement. I always say we make it work once we insert one in. And remember, we can bend these down and around. Oh my gosh, it is so cute. Oh my god. Again, twist your stems. And remember all directions when you're gluing them in, because the carrot leaves are usually in like a bunch or a bushel. So do we need 9? I don't know. It again depends on the look. So if you want to add a flower, and we will decorate this one. Just looking in my stash, how we can add our flowers and some additional leaves. So, you know, think about your placement there, and maybe you don't want to add all the carrot leaves at once because you're not sure. And again, the 18 gauge floral stem wire, because these are taller leaves, has a lot more stability. And also, if you have the glue where you can just dip it in, that will work as well. Oh my gosh. So overall, her size is about 21 inches. It's so cute. I think I'm going to leave some of the smaller ones off. I mean, do you want more coming down the sides? More up in the center? So I'm generally gluing all the way up to where my stem ended, so I can insert that into the styrofoam. I do need to use my right hand. And again, because they are bendable wire, you can style them and insert them any which way. Now we can cut some of them down, so some of them are shorter, little sprouts. But again, I'm not sure where I want to place my flowers or how I want that to go. So I'm going to leave some of these smaller ones. But also any of your other leaves, maybe you have styled already, like I have a bunch styled. I can add them in with my flowers if I want. I'm not sure. Again, this is thinking on the fly. How I roll. But it is so stinking cute. So we definitely want to make sure our glue's hidden. And all of our styrofoam. But we can also add a little bit more. We can add some moss or anything to hide it. And again, you can cut these down if you didn't want it so high. So we want to make sure that we're turning it in all directions. So for this one, I'll just show you. I'm going to cut it down. Add my glue at the bottom. And this way we can insert it. And whichever way direction you want it to bend, we can turn it. I did put that one in the wrong direction. And if you wanted to add a bow, you certainly can. Again, this is going to be my front. So I still have 3 leaves, but again, think of how you want to decorate it. Do you want to add a bow? I'm thinking of adding a bow, but however, I'm not very good at tying bows. But I think with some flowers, which we'll make. I'm just looking here in my stash. That one's super pretty, of what we can do of adding them with maybe a bow. But that's how you make the carrot. And again, how many leaves you add is completely up to you. Your placement of them and bending them is completely, again, your style. Have some glue strings, and maybe you want to insert them even more. into there, but we did add glue, so just keep that in mind. But you can move them around. They're pretty flexible until that Gorilla Glue dries. So again, we have about 3 more. But definitely, I think I'm going to have some bent over because I did use the very large carrot or the foam cone. But it is super fun, and I hope I can inspire you to Once your leaves are inserted, then you can decorate them as you like or just leave them with the leaves. But I added some of my paper flowers, a wood bunny, some foam eggs, and Spanish moss. I love adding all the little details. So from every angle, she is gorgeous. So you can use them in any of your projects, a wreath, gather 3 of them together, and use it as a door hanger or in a tablescape. I hope I can inspire you to make a carrot today.